All good. Awesome. What is good, YouTube? And good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are all over the world. I wanted to do this uh, another live stream for you guys tonight. Um, so I'm halfway through. I'm going to go over a few things. There's a bit of a rant involved. We all know you guys love rants, and a bit of information, which is always good, and just something I want to get off my chest. And I'm going to tell you a bit of progress regarding the house move and what's been going on in the HQ, all that sort of great stuff. So, without further ado, I just want to welcome everyone into the chat. Great to see you guys. Um, I'll come to everyone shortly, but I just want to get a few things off my chest. So, first of all, before we go into the rant, I want to tell you guys about the IHS Doncaster show. So I reached out to the organisers today and just asked them if, because obviously with all this, coronavirus and all this sort of stuff that's going on, um, it's about being informed. So the more we're informed, the more platforms that they have access to regarding letting people know what's going on, the better. So, as we know, Ham Germany, the Ham show has been cancelled. And my theory is Houghton over at the Netherlands potentially could be next. With that being said, we're over the waters. So, my concern is whether or not they're going to cancel the Doncaster show. So, I reached out to the organisers and they sent me a statement basically saying that they're not going to cancel unless the government urge the venue to cancel. So that's good news. So the IHS the IHS show at Doncaster is still on. Um, if you are a little bit worried about going, then obviously it's understandable. However, they will be putting hand sanitizers on and all that sort of good stuff. So I think it'll be okay personally, and I really hope everyone comes along to the show. So that's first bit of information. Um, okay, we've got sort of two rants to get off my chest, um, and the first one is when people send me pictures, and this isn't aimed at any one person in particular. This is aimed at multiple people around the world who send me pictures asking me if this combo has a particular gene in. Now, I understand new people to the hobby, and I understand we can't always see a particular gene in a combo. I get it. However, because I'm not the person that's produced that animal and I don't know the pairing behind that animal, I can't really answer the question. So, what I tend to say to people is if you find yourself doubting the breeder, then for me, how I look at it is I'd do a bit more research on the breeder and then consider whether or not that breeder, you buying that animal off that breeder, is for you. Um, and again, this is, I mean, this with no, with all due respect and all great respect. I don't mean to aim this at anyone in particular, just that, it's very difficult for me to establish whether or not a combo has something in it because I don't know the pairing. I'm not the person that's selling it. And if you as a person feel that you're unsure yourself, then do the research. And what I mean by that is go on Morph Market, have a look at the combo that you're supposedly buying and see if it looks the same as other combos which are being advertised. See, sometimes you can have a question of quality. So, for example, the quality of that combo may not reach your expectations, or maybe someone else has got the same combo, but maybe it's slightly better in quality or slightly worse. So it's very difficult for me to ID stuff. And what frustrates me is that there are plenty of breeders out there. There are plenty of ways of researching whether or not that combo has that particular gene. And I feel sometimes that, you know, when I don't go back with the correct answer, maybe it's put that, you know, I'm not very helpful, or maybe it comes across like I'm not being very helpful. But I honestly don't know, guys. I can't, you know, some things are easy to see and you can clearly see it. Certain people expectations may be slightly higher. So, for example, you may look at a particular morph and you may expect it to be of better quality. But again, are you looking at just one combo, or have you researched other combos? So it's always good just to do your research basically before you dive in and start handing over your hard earned cash. So, with that being said, uh, just do your research, guys, before you go out and start buying combos. Um, you know, just make sure that it kind of looks the same as everything else. And if you find yourself doubting that breeder, regardless of the cost, then it's probably a little inkling, a little something telling you maybe not to buy from that breeder or buy that combo just yet. So, just a little something. And off the back of that is, people who aren't researching the breeders before they buy an animal. So let's say they buy an animal, that's a picky feeder. I've sold animals and the customer or the person is due to pick the animal up, and I've told them, I've gone, "Well, unfortunately, it's not feeding very well. I want to hold on to the animal until it is feeding correctly." And whether or not, you know, I've offered the money back, if they want to take the money back and go and buy it somewhere else, that's fine. You know, we're dealing with animals that we can't expect them to eat and grow and thrive and breed and like clockwork. They're animals. So, um, I see, I still see that people are still buying animals that are problem feeders. And I don't know if that's due to the cost, you know, they got it at a good price or what. But, you know, as I've talked about time and time again, if you buy cheap, then there's normally a reason. Unless it's a mate's rates, or you've got it in a deal with another animal through a particular breeder that you may have known for a long time, or you've purchased animals off before for a long time. If it's too cheap, then it's probably too cheap to be true. So, and again, we look at feeding records. Feeding records is a great way to determine whether or not the snake is, um, feeding well. Um, and again, with feeding records, we know they can be, you know, anyone can put anything on a feeding record, you know. But that's where you as a person, you know, if this animal is 5 months old and it's only 120 grams, and they're saying on the feeding card it's had 20 feeds, you know, there's questions, alarm bells. So, regardless on whether you're new to the hobby or whether you're an experienced breeder, you need to be, um, educating yourself into what you're looking at. You know, at an animal at 5 months old, what should it look like? You know, should it be 120 grams or should it be 350 grams? You know, um, and that will lead me into my other topic. In fact, there's probably a couple tonight, but let's get on it while we're on it. So, always go back to the breeder. If you're unsure, ask the breeder questions. Now, I'm not saying go out there and start asking for 20 pictures and can you send me a picture of its weight and all that sort of stuff. You know, Morph Market is a fantastic place and it gives the breeder options to put all the data down, the weight, what it's feeding on, all that sort of good stuff. So all the information, you know, is inputted. Obviously, if the breeder hasn't inputted it and you want to know, then fair enough, go and ask. But just look at that, you know, look at the description of the snake. Look, you know, is it a proven breeder? Is it not? Is it feeding? What's it feeding on? You know, all that sort of stuff. It's weight. But you know, always go back to the breeder. You know, if you have an issue or you feel something's not quite right, or maybe the animal's not feeding correctly, or ask the breeder, say, how did you keep the animal? Because I'm kind of having problems with it feeding. And it happens. It's simple. These are animals, like I said. If the breeder comes back and he's helpful, fantastic, happy days. If he comes back and he's been a little bit arsy with you, or a little bit off, or a little bit sharp, and potentially, that person, that breeders really shouldn't really take your questions funny. Um, as a breeder, for myself, I'm not going to give a new person into the hobby a a snake that may potentially need a bit more coaxed in with a feeding, if that makes sense. So I know, like when I've sold animals to some of my close friends, I've told them, look, this animal, it feeds live, simple. If they want it, they're going to take it. If not, that's fine by me. I'll keep it. But I've always been open and upfront about that sort of thing. And what amazes me is, you know, when breeders get asked questions like, how did you keep the animal? Because I want to replicate it because, it's not feeding very well, or maybe there's an issue that potentially the breeder will come back and start going, oh, start being arsy and funny. Well, guess what? I would not buy from that breeder ever again. If the questions you're asking and putting across is in a correct manner, and maybe you forgot what it was feeding on, X, Y, and Z, then you've purchased an animal. Its health is important. So as a good breeder, as a responsible breeder, that breeder should be able to answer any questions um, as many times as possible. And if like, let's say this person keeps coming back and asking these questions, then maybe you as a breeder shouldn't have sold sort of like um, not a problem snake, but maybe a snake that needs that little bit more attention, or more of an established breeder. Maybe you should have sold it like, an animal that is feeding very, very well. He's piling on the weight instead of sort of looking at the cash. But that's my rant, because I get easily 5 to 10 messages a day asking me to ID a snake, or I've got a problem with this snake, it's not feeding. And it's simple. Speak to the breeder. If you don't trust the breeder, or if you have a trust, is that the right word? If you have a gut feeling about the breeder, then maybe don't buy from that breeder. Do your research the combo, and research the animal, what you should be looking at. If the animal's 5 months old and it's had 50 feeds, or it's had 20 feeds, work it out. That will go on to my next thing, which I was just speaking to Earl at Lone Star Reptiles. He just gave me a call. That's why I'm a little bit late jumping on the live chat. And we were talking about a particular YouTuber. I'm not going to mention his name. He posts videos virtually every day. It's not Brian Barczyk. Brian's a good guy. It's someone else. And he mentioned, before I even said it, we were talking about responsibilities as breeders, and how we should be responsible for our animals. And if we act in a responsible way, then maybe the government and the governing bodies will maybe kind of look at us and say, well, they're kind of policing themselves. We don't need to intervene and create all these laws and all that sort of stuff. And he brought up this particular breeder, and this breeder basically hatched out these snakes and put them in a tub, drove them to the show, and sold them on his table. And when I first got made aware of this, I was gobsmacked, because talk about irresponsible. Now, let's talk about that. If I went round my friend's house and we just hatched, or he just hatched out some snakes, as a responsible breeder, I would say to him, I'll buy that. I'll take it with me. Let's say it's just come out. I'll take it with me. As a responsible breeder, I expect, whether he's my friend or not, to go, let it shed out, let me feed it a few times, and then you can have it. That's responsible. Um, when you're taking a snake that's not established, it's not even shed out, it's straight out the egg, straight to a show, and you're selling that snake. For me, that's irresponsible because the person that could come along may not be an established breeder. Take that animal, drive it 3, 4 hours across the country in another tub, and then stick it in a vivarium or a glass tank or a tub, whatever. That's a lot of stress on a snake, a lot of stress, especially for one that's not been feeding and one that's, it's probably hasn't shed yet. That's irresponsible. And I've not seen it. I last saw that at the Doncaster show about, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago. Now, bear in mind, I don't get chance like everyone else to walk around the show, but about 5, 6 years ago, I saw some animals that were being sold, and you could tell they were at the egg. Now, as a breeder, when they import animals or when they import from Africa, um, the chances are the eggs are collected because they're harvested. They probably do come over and they probably haven't had their first shed, and you have got to get them going. Now, as an established breeder, they would be coming into the trade, so they go to the pet stores. The pet store should get them started, get them going, or the trade should get them going, get them started, and then sell them to the pet stores once they're ready to be sold. However, as an established breeder, you kind of you know what you're looking for. So this whole little rant thing is just to do with, a few things that I've come across lately, and I just think, this is nuts. This is crazy. Um, we need to be. We're trying to be a responsible community. We're trying to be, show people that we are better than most pet breeders out there, and we don't have this, bad stigma just because we keep them in a tub in a rack system. You know, because that's how they live. They live underground. Okay, so it's kind of like we have to keep educating people. We have to keep, and this goes for all breeders. We have to keep educating people. So yeah, so that's my little rant. Get that off my chest. For those breeders who are on, and there's plenty of people who are on today, and it's great to see you all. Um, just remember, you are responsible. You are a part of this community. Be responsible because you don't want it to bite you in the ass. And when it does, and if it does, once you've got a bad reputation, it's very difficult to get rid of it. And those in the UK know who has bad reputations. Don't make them bad people. They've just got bad reputations. So let's leave it at that. So, a bit of good news. I've just had a clutch of eggs. Fantastic. So, I've managed to set them up, put them in the incubator. That was a pastel ultra male bred to a pastel het ultra male. So, I'm looking for the super pastel ultra male, female if possible, or male. Probably one of each. I'll take it. She gave me 9 eggs, 3 slugs. And what I've learned from that data that I collected, and I'm going to try not to bore you and go on too much about the data side of things, but I bred that male to that female 7 times. So once a month for 7 months. Okay. So going back to the ultrasound that I brought, um, I've probably been ultrasounding a little bit too much, but I've been trying to collect data. Um, going back to that, if I'd have had the ultrasound, I'd have been able to maybe put the male in twice, 2 to 3 times. Okay. So the ultrasound, once you've got your breeding recipe, the ultrasound will help you narrow it down and fine tune it. The reason why I bred him to her 7 times was because I didn't know the follicle size and she was feeding so well. I just thought, yeah, she's building. And then the next month would go on and I'd be like, still not seeing anything. The next month would go on, still not seeing anything. So if I'd have bred her at the optimal time, twice, maybe 3 times, I probably wouldn't have ended up with slugs. And I had 4 slugs. Yeah, 9 eggs, 4 slugs. Um, I probably wouldn't have ended up with 4 slugs, and I probably would have been able to maybe put the male to another female. He's bred 2 females this season, um, and he's back on food. He's smashing food, and as far as I'm concerned, I think I've retired him for this season. He's just chilling, but he's smashing food, which is great. But he did lose weight over the breeding season. So in my head, when I take that data and I put it into Reptiscan and I'm able to look back at the data, in my head, now I'm thinking that next season I potentially won't need to breed him to her so many times because I'll be able to ultrasound her and see where she's at. So, bit of good news, fantastic, happy days. Another clutch number 4 in the incubator. So far, so good. So yeah, so now I'm going to jump over to the chat. I'm going to say good morning, good afternoon to everyone here, and reel off a few names. Obviously, if you guys have questions, let me know. Um, so where do we start? Let's start at the top. So we've got New Mexico Royals, we got TA Exotics, we got Dan, we got Nathan, we got DS Balls and Exotics, George. Um, who else we got? We got Ballers. Uh, we got Eptonic Dungeon is in the house. My friend Jim, good to see you, dude. Um, who else we got? We've got Tammy. Wow, lots of people. CLC Pythons, Hurst Reptiles, Tammy, I said Tammy, Corey. We've got who else? Oh, we got Darren's in the house. Good evening, Darren. I'm not sure if you caught the other ball talk I did last one, but I spoke about a certain conversation I had with a gentleman over a telephone. So if you haven't watched it, mate, go back and watch that. It's interesting. Um, so who else we got? Let's have a quick look. We got SPR Pythons is in the house. We've got Bogwater. Okay, right. Let's. Now I can see all you lot already starting to take the mick out of each other, which is awesome. So State 48s. What's up, Joel? Good to see. I've got my Beach Bum Exotics. I think I might wear your one, Joel, your T-shirt, the next one. But good to see you, my friend. Okay, so let's have a quick look. So one of each, I'll take. Yeah. So right, guys. If I've missed any questions, Mutant Morphs, Evening Gav, got 1,000 followers on Instagram tonight. No way as many as you, mate, but I want to say a big thanks to all you and my followers. Listen, it doesn't matter if you have 100 followers or 100,000 followers. To me, anything is amazing. It's awesome. You know, it doesn't matter how many followers you've got. Just keep doing what you're doing. A lot of people, my Instagram, my YouTube has been built up over years. It's not been built up over months or the last year. It's years. So it takes time. And as far as I'm concerned, people do come and go. And that's why you'll get, you may have a certain percentage of your followers or subscribers only watch your videos or subscribe or like your videos or like your pictures. That's because people come and go, simple. But they stay following your channel or they stay following your Instagram page. So, any questions? We've got Malcolm. Good evening, sir. Any questions? Unfortunately, I missed it, but I have watched it back already. Darren, good dude. So, any questions? Does anyone want to touch on anything tonight? Maybe that I haven't covered in a video, or maybe you want me to cover in a video uh, in the future? Because, like I said, at the moment I am moving house. I'm halfway through. Next weekend I'll be moving the snakes over, which is very concerning, very worrying. It's natural. So videos will be short, but hit me up with some questions. So, okay. So Eptonic Dungeon has asked, at what follicle size would you put the male in for 2 to 3 times. So I'm a big believer that sometimes a male has to go in, Jim, to start a female off. So I would ultrasound her, see how she's feeding. If she's 0 to 10 millimeters, I would, if she's feeding fantastic or not feeding very well, I'd put a male in. So that'd be my first. 9 times out of 10, the feeding response kicks in and they start smashing food. I would probably ultrasound her once a month, and I'd probably wait until she's round about 25 millimeters. Round about 25 millimeters, I can tell you, is when all my females, 25 millimeters or above, have gone off food. Round about the glow stage is round about 30 to 35. So we want it sort of just before the glow stage. So I would put it in, put the male in at the beginning. So around about 0 to 10 millimeters. And then I'd introduce him back in probably about 25 to 30 millimeters. And then just to finish it off, I'd probably put him in between 30 and 40 millimeters just to kind of finish the job off. That way, pretty much anything after 35 millimeters, she's going to glow, she's going to go, and you're going to get eggs. The reason why I'm saying the last one between 30 and 40 millimeters, try and make it between 35 to 40, is because the sperm will be replenished. So we'll have good, viable sperm, fingers crossed. That's what I would do. The female that gave me the clutch before this one, she was only bred twice. So I only put the male in twice. And in actual fact, I bred the same male to her, which was the pastel ultra male, the same male that's bred this female that's laid for me tonight. So he only bred her twice, and she gave me 9 eggs. So he had the goods. I just think I bred the female tonight a little bit too late, hence why I got the slugs tonight. But again, it's learning curve, it's data. Collecting the data is important. So, hope that answers your question, Jim. Da, da, da. So, what else have we got? Yeah, so Tammy said, I can only imagine the stress it puts on you having to move the snakes. Yeah, I'm stressed, and hopefully the snakes won't be that stressed. And that's where I'm not going to change the substrate. I'm going to leave their scent in the tub. I'm going to leave them in the tubs, and the rack systems come off in levels. So I'll be able to move them a level at a time. I've got a big van, so I'll move a couple of racks at once. But leave them in there, keep the scent in there, and literally it's only 10 minutes down the road, so it shouldn't be that bad. But as you can understand, I am stressed, and I will put a video out there to try and help other people with moving snakes, but I don't think there's going to be any sort of right or wrong answer. I want to give Justin a call because obviously Justin's just moved facilities. So I'd like to give Justin a call, have a quick chat, and just say, was there anything you learned from your moves that maybe I could implement with mine? So, yeah, stress. So, what else have we got? Yeah, Majestic Serpents. Can we get some likes up in this joint? Yes, please give me some likes. Guys, make sure while you're here, because I get a lot of messages saying to me that they're missing the live, just double click, just double check. And I think you've got to double click the bell icon for the notifications. So just do that because, like I said, it's really random when I upload, and a lot of people have sort of gutted that they missed it. But just make sure you make sure that's done. So, is it so? Is it too late to breed a female now? I've seen breeding charts and females. Da, da, da. No, so it it depends where you are in the world, and this sounds like a bit of a lame answer. I This year here in the UK we've had, and again I was just saying to Earl from Lone Star, um, I was just saying that here in the UK we've had some crazy storms which have really helped our breeding season. Last year it was a terrible winter. So what you need to do is take into consideration when your winter cycle is, because that will help. However, I have had females who are now growing follicles. So that means probably another 3 to 4 months, and they'll probably be laying eggs. So that will take us into June, July, August time. So it's never too late to start. You've just got to make sure that you're starting at the right time or at the right cycle for that female. And sometimes, and I've said this, an ultrasound isn't the answer, but if you do have someone with an ultrasound machine who can ultrasound your females for you, then it will help and give you an understanding. But it's not a necessity. Okay. Learn your animals, learn the responses, and that's why grow up your females, take your time, and you'll kind of get a feel of what's going on in your collection. Hope that helps. Let me see. So Malcolm, Gavin, at what age or weight would you class a male for breeding? Again, Malcolm, I've had males that have been 2 years of age and still haven't bred, and then I've had a male which has been 8 months, who has gone off food at the front of his tub looking for something. So, and again, I'm one of these people where I believe in doing what's right for the animal. So he was at the front of his tub. He wasn't hungry. He was looking, and you could tell because when I picked him up, he was pushing off me. You could obviously smell the other males and the pheromones in the room from the female. So I put him in with a female. I mean, he was about 800 grams, so he was a good weight. Put him in with a female, and guess what? The next morning I woke up and we got a lock. Once he'd finished, I put him back away, and then pretty much he was eating. So every animal is different. I've had mature males who have been, you know, breeding for 5 years, and they have a particular pattern of how they feed and how they breed. So knowing your animal, the same with the females, is important. So we have this general, and I keep saying this, but we have this general guideline within the industry that we say, a male needs to be 800 grams or above, about a year of age. A female needs to be 1600 grams or above, again, 2 years or above of age. That tends to be the standard guideline that we all like to follow. However, there are exceptions where some will be a little bit older or a little bit heavier before they breed, and some will be a little bit younger and a little bit lighter. All that comes with experience. So there's no real sort of answer. I can't give you a definite answer, basically. So, yeah, I hope that helps, Malcolm. I hope that kind of explains it. I tend to do what the animals want, as opposed to, um, doesn't matter if that male um, is, he's an expensive male, and I think, oh, I've spent loads of money on this male. Da, 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 da. I'm not in it for the money. The health of the animal is more important. As long as my collection pays for itself, that's all I'm bothered about, and it covers the rat bills, obviously, and it covers me to go to all these wonderful places. But you get my gist. So it's all about the health of the animal. As long as the animal is healthy, as long as if he wants to feed, I'll feed it. If he wants to breed, I'll put it in there, and it works. So, let's have a quick look. So, so Darren, Gavin had a conversation today with a well established UK breeder, and for one reason or another, last year he decided to drop his temps before the breeding season occurred. Some problems. Any ideas? Yes, Darren. That I think I know the person who you're on about, and that shocked me severely. Um, if there's any advice I could give to anyone who are breeding, don't look abroad. So don't look at breeders in different countries because their climate is completely different. Reach out to people in the UK. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. I'm going to go and ask Justin some questions. I ask Ozzy questions. I ask Mark Mendick questions. I'll ask anyone questions if I feel I'm going to get an answer. For me, dropping temperatures, I don't drop temperatures. Let's just get that out there. I do not drop temperatures um, because this year the house or the room has cooled itself down via what's going on outside. And the only thing I do is I just open the window a little bit. Sometimes I'll close it, sometimes I'll open it a bit more. But predominantly, I will let the room do its thing because it's what's going on outside. So naturally, you walk in your house, if it's cold outside, your house is going to be colder. You've got central heating, it's still going to be colder. You just feel it. Those snakes feel it. So, with that being said, I would not recommend dropping temperatures in the UK. I would recommend just letting the room cool itself down by whatever's going on outside. So, but I would also reach out to other breeders before you do anything drastic in your area or in your country and just ask advice. There's nothing wrong with asking advice. And I'm sorry, but I've got my I think I can see foxes outside and it's nuts. They're absolutely playing each other up, but they're going crazy. So sorry about drawing my attention away. So I would not drop temperatures unless your room was really warm or you and again, we're not talking 5 degrees or 10 degrees. I'm talking one, two, three at the most degrees. That's all you need. Uh, they will feel it, and the barometric pressure that they'll know. So for me, don't drop temperatures. Simple. So hope that answers that question, Darren. Um, unless it was something specific, Darren, that you was pointing at. But yeah, I'd always speak to other breeders in your country, in your town, in your city, wherever you are, and just see what everyone else is doing. And sometimes, um, I suppose we can do things, and we go, "Why did we do that? Why did we do that?" It's nuts. But before you do something, and that's why I have a close circle of friends within the hobby that I'll reach out to, and I'll go, "I'm thinking about doing this," and they'll go, "Yeah, that's a good idea," or "No, don't do it." So speak to people. So uh, Tig's in the house. Good to see you, Tig. So Adam at TA Exotics, what are your plans for the Jazz this season? So I believe it's a yellow belly complex, or part of. I think it's part of a yellow belly complex. So what I've done with my Jazz girls that have got the Jazz gene, I've been breeding an Cyprus ivory male to those. One female is currently ovulating. The original mom has gone through her pre-lay shed, so she's due to lay in 30 days. So I'm going to put an ivory complex through there to see, sorry, a yellow belly through the girls, because I do believe that the possibly trying to rule out whether or not the Jazz gene is a yellow belly complex, something like an asphalt or gravel, maybe. I don't know. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to try and re-engineer it. I've put a blue-eyed leucistic complex through there. Nothing happened. So now I'm going for the yellow belly complex to see if we get anything from there. So let's have a look. Right. Who else we got? Uh, what else we got going on? So, as you know, so at what age would you stop breeding a female? Um, I've still got a female, my original female from 2003, Sugar. She's breeding at the moment. Again, um, I don't breed her every year, but I do what she wants to do. This season, she I wasn't going to breed her. Simple. Not because of any particular reason, like health issues, but I just felt like, you know what, I don't need to breed her, so I'm good. I'm just going to give her, another year off. I didn't breed her last year. Give her another year off. However, she started acting in a way that I knew she she didn't want food. She's not. I mean, she's a big girl. She's 5 kilos, but she's not fat. She's kind of like really loose skinned. She's what I would class as a giant ball python. Um, she was acting really peculiar, and I thought, you know what, I know what she wants. So I put a male in there, and sure enough, they locked. Took him out, and her feeding response was bang, 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 bang. So I tend to listen to what they want to do. Um, some breeders rotate their females out on a regular basis, so they'll probably hold on to a female for 3 or 4 years and then rotate it out and upgrade. For me, um, yeah, I kind of work with what gets me excited. So if a female reaches 4 and I've got her daughter to replace her with an extra gene, then I'll let someone else take that female on. And to be honest with you, like I said, Sugar, she's what? She's 17 years old and she's still fantastic. So you know, responsible breeder, all that sort of stuff. You do whatever you feel is necessary. I won't stand there and say you shouldn't breed a female over 10 years of age. But I can tell you, my female, she's still breeding at 17 years old. So, what else have we got? Uh, so, what else have we got? So, my male has gone from eating every week to every 2 weeks, still giving him the same size rodent. Is this normal? Should I stop feeding him every week? Um, I'm not sure how old the male is. However, um, if they don't want to eat every week, then don't feed them every week. Still offer the food. What I do, I still offer the food. So, but because I split down my collection and I only feed, um, I'll feed one rack one night, another rack another night. I'll offer the animal, I'll offer the snake, the rodent. But if they don't take it, then it's not a problem because I've got another snake I can feed it to. For me, I would always recommend making sure that you have food available for your animal. So, in other words, always offer it food. If it doesn't want it, it's not the end of the world. There's no strict rule or regulations, you know, guidelines. We do once a week because we feel that's right. However, hatchlings would feed every night if you let them. Some adults will feed every night if you let them. And this is where we go on and we talk about the difference between feeding a hatchling and feeding an adult. I believe a hatchling requires more feeding, not so much bigger prey items, but smaller prey regular. So, like every 5 days, because they're kind of building, it's the building blocks for them growing up. As they get to an adult size, they tend to back off and slow down a little bit because they don't need it. Ball pythons are not greedy animals. They just eat what they need. And that's why I feel that hatchlings will feed more regular due to the fact that they need more food, more calories because they're growing and they need to get up to a certain size. You've got to think in the wild, the smaller you are, you you're subjected to a lot of prey item, a lot of predators out there. You become a prey item. The bigger you are, the less chances of you being attacked by predators. So for me in the wild, if I think about it logically, a snake has to get up as big as it can because it has to protect itself, especially a python. You know, they've got to constrict. They don't have venom. If you look at a lot of venomous snakes, when they're younger, they have the same amount of venom, or so it's said, as an adult. And some breeders actually say, and some specialists say that as a hatchling, they're probably even more dangerous because they don't have control on how much venom they inject into a subject. So, whereas an adult probably will reserve its venom or reserve its bite, i.e., squishing the venom glands into you, because that may not kill you. It may take 3 or 4 bites, whereas a venomous hatchling, may try and just basically bite and inject as much venom as possible. So I believe in the wild with baby pythons, you know, it's kind of a race to get up to size as quick as possible because they will be attacked. So probably a little bit off the subject of the question, but kind of like my train of thought goes on to things and kind of start saying about stuff. So again, hope that helps. Right, what else have we got? So we've got Jay in the house. Jay, enjoying life with Jay. Jay's a good friend of mine. We used to work together. We're still in touch. It's probably been about 7 years now since we worked together, but we stay in touch. Jay's a great guy. He's got an awesome YouTube channel. I've loved watching him grow his channel over the years. He does a lot of exploring, and he's got a camper van that he's converting. So if that's something you guys are interested in, go and check that out. Definitely worth watching some of his videos. I love his exploring videos, and I love the fact that um, like me and Jay are really, we love to learn. So if I can help Jay or Jay can help me, we always try and help each other regarding the YouTube videos and life in general. So get over and check out Enjoying Life with Jay. Um, it's a great channel. I love it. So go and check him out, guys. Show him a bit of love from the reptile community. Yeah. So what else? So we got Kerry in the house. Good to see you catching live. Yeah, great to see you, Kerry. What else have we got? So, have you ever had a female lay eggs that hasn't bred with a male that year, but maybe retained sperm? Yes. Good question. Mutant Morphs has asked, have I ever had a female that's laid eggs and hasn't? Yes. So basically, retained sperm. Yes, I have. Um, the clutch wasn't 100% good. It was kind of like, I think about eight eggs. Four of those were slugs. Four of those was eggs. I'd have to look at my data sheets, and this is going back a fair number of years now. But that is also a possibility that you may have if you don't pay attention to your females. So let's say, for example, you want to go down the route and say, right, I don't want to breed a female every year. It's not about what you want. Listen to your animal. If your female then starts acting peculiar and maybe you feel that she's acting like she could be growing follicles, my advice would be to breed her. For the simple fact is, if you don't, you could slug out. She will waste all that energy, all that effort into trying to produce a clutch of eggs, where it's a wasted effort, if that makes sense. So for me, pay attention to your females. Retained sperm does happen. I've seen it happen. You can also get dual side clutches from it as well. So always be mindful of that. Again, record your data, um, keep it somewhere nice and safe. I'll use Reptile Scan. That works fine for me. So just put that out there. Hope that answers your questions, mate. What else have we got? So Graham's here. How you doing, Graham? Uh, so Majestic Serpents. And the reason why I'm reading out these comments is because on the live feed, you guys can see, but if for those people who don't watch the live feed and they come back and watch it, they don't see the live feed. So the comments. So that's why I read them out. I have done maternal incubation and lost 3 out of 11 eggs due to where they were laid. Uh, when they got larger, they suffocated. So renewed. Da, 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 da. Yeah. So maternal incubation. Just on that subject, I've done it once. I kid you not. I stressed the whole time. The whole time, I was like, "Oh, check in, doing this, doing that." I was shooting her with the temp gun, just making sure her temperature was okay. I was offering her food. She did feed once or twice for me. Talk about stress. I didn't have any issues other than my stress levels went through the roof. After that, I choose not to do it again. I knew I could do it. And again, there's nothing wrong in doing it. But for me, it just stressed me out. And I'd rather have control over it. So I either in the incubator, they're incubating, I can now get that female washed back in a fresh bed, back in a fresh tub, and offering her some prey and put some weight back on her and just get some meals in her. Um, I know they do it in the wild, and I know it's successful. But for me, they're like my pets, you know. So I want to do the best by them. Um, and for me, I feel by taking their eggs away and getting them back on food is the best for them. That's how I feel. So maternal incubation, great, but talk about stress. It's almost stressful as buying a house, moving jobs, all that good stuff. Kids. Some of you whippersnappers don't have kids yet. Wait till you have kids. Ooh. Okay. SPR pythons. Any known tricks to avoid kinking in super black pastels, or is it all down to lines? Yeah, I believe it's down to lines. Me and Darren Hughes, I believe we spoke about this. Lines. Um, Again, I've probably spoke about this before. I had a cinnamon girl from way back in the day. She kept giving me Parthenogenesis clutches, so I knew that line wasn't great to breed from. I didn't produce anything from her. I did sell her, and the guy who brought her off me, made him aware, pet only, do not breed her. I keep getting Parthenogenesis clutches. However, my other cinnamon girl, completely different, looks different. She's not a black pastel. She just looks different, but she's a cinnamon. She produces fantastic clutches, and the babies from her are absolutely awesome. I've not gone for the super from her line. However, I do feel that maybe her line would be okay or very little issues with a super. So definitely look for a good line. Um, that's my advice. Look for a good line. And again, if you're looking for that all black snake, super cinnamon, super black pastels aren't as black as what we'd like them. Sumas are super mahoganies, I believe, look better. Um, I see various. Um, I see some that are really black and some that are kind of a very dark brown. So um, pick your lines. That's what I'd say. Pick your lines. What else have we got? Any evidence of the atomic heart? Heard that before. Never seen the proof in the pudding. So SPR pythons. Any evidence of that? Uh, epto- so yeah. Trying to think when it was. I did a video on it possibly 3 or 4 years ago now, mate. Um, Check it out. Check one of my old videos out, mate. I did do some videos on it, but it's definitely worth a watch. Um, Definitely worth a watch. And a few people in the hobby, I think Mark over at Balls Out Ball Pythons, he had an issue regarding the same issue I had. So definitely go and check it out. It's worth a watch for sure. And just touching on a few things. So I'm not sure if you guys follow Viper Keeper. Recently, Viper Keeper did a video on respiratories and what he does for respiratory infections. And we're kind of on the same wavelength regarding the injection of a snake treating for respiratory. Get over and watch I think it was his latest video. Get over and watch that because I've mentioned this before in the past about the injections being very stressful, very harmful for the animal. And if we can treat it in a non-invasive method, then it's going to keep the stress levels down for the snake, which is something that I totally agree on. So stress levels on ball pythons is important, or any animal for that matter. Keeping the stress levels down. If we can treat a respiratory infection without giving injections, then happy days. Get over and give that a follow, and then go back and watch first my treating an RI video, and then go and watch his video, and you'll see we're kind of on the same wavelength. great information, great guy. So SPR Python's going for the panda pal. Yeah. Believe it or not, I was talking to Earl at Lone Star Reptiles, and he's also going for a type of pandapide, but he's using the Dark Wonder gene, which is a recessive, which he already has a few double hets held back, I believe, or Dark Wonder hepides, and he's also going down that route as well. So, not sure if I should have told you guys, but you've heard it here first. So what else we got? Super blackhead yellow belly. Yeah, well, anything Kevin with yellow belly, you're up, and anything with yellow belly. Kevin is the leopard yellow belly king. He hoards all the yellow bellies and leopards. Viper Keeper is a cool dude. Such and more, much knowledge. Yeah, we can all learn. Listen, the community lost a vital key to our community, and I mean the reptile community. We lost Forrest, and I never met the guy. Again, if you manage to watch or you follow Brian Cusco, he did a very emotional video, and that hit me because I know Brian very, very well. And I know if Brian saw him as a brother, I know if I'd had a chance to meet him, then he'd definitely be a brother. And Forrest was full of knowledge, and I love taking stuff like that and trying to look at my animals, and if it will help me with my breeding and my animals, then listen, I'll take anyone's advice for any creature. If it's going to make me more wiser, more knowledgeable, more grounded, then I don't care if you're breeding snails. you know if it's going to work, if it's going to help my animals and make me learn something new, then I'm up for that. So yeah, very sad day that when we lost Forrest Fanning, but he was a great guy from what I saw, and his knowledge was way up there. So it's very sad. So let's have a quick look. So we are coming up to an hour, guys. So I will be wrapping it up because you guys know I need my beauty sleep. Um, I haven't even been on Fortnite tonight. For those young enough out there who know what Fortnite is, I'm only messing. Um, so, yeah, rest in peace, Forest. Yeah, is it possible for two males to fertilize one egg? No, Dawn asks, is it possible for two males to fertilize one egg? Not that I've seen. That may be a good question for uh, one of my guests that I want to get on. Um, yeah, I'll keep that one in mind. Very interesting. Right. God. Okay. So, right, guys, I am going to love and leave you. Check, see if I've got everything. Yeah, covered most of. Yeah. Just quickly going back to the Super Cine clutch, the Eptonic Dungeon Jim was talking about. So I've had one clutch of Super Cines that kinked. I had my incubator at 90 degrees. Okay, let's talk about very quickly about incubator temperatures. Um, if you want to incubate a clutch at a lower temperature, I would advise you have a separate incubator for just that. And the reason for that is because what what I've seen in the past is I've seen people incubate and not realize that actually the temperature within the incubator was lower than normal. It was around about 86 degrees, and they had issues, major issues. So if you are going to try anything like that, um, I would kind of advise against it. I would always keep my incubator temperatures stable. If I had to say, I would say don't drop it below 89 degrees Fahrenheit, and have a separate incubator if you are going to incubate a super cinnamon clutch or a super black pastel clutch. And if you're going to give that a try, that's my advice. You haven't got to take it. It's not gospel, but that's what I would do. just so I wouldn't jeopardize the other clutches in my incubator. Just a little bit of something out there. So I'm definitely going to wrap it up now, guys. Are you at all the Doncaster shows? Yes, I'm at all the Doncaster shows. Um, yeah, and so far, I don't know if you saw, Dean, at the beginning of the video, I did get a statement from the venue, sorry, from the organisers of the IHS Doncaster show. It is going ahead unless the government tell the venue, which is the race course, to not put on events. So the IHS will continue. Whether or not people turn up or not is irrelevant, but they will continue, mate. So, right, I'm going to go, guys. I hope you're all well. Again, thanks for all your support. Love and respect you all. Again, absolutely amazing. Thanks for bearing with me at this transition through moving. Um, it's a long process, but I'm getting there. We're getting there. The HQ is going to be absolutely awesome. There's going to be loads of good future things at the Balls to You or for the Balls to You culture, which I'm really excited for. But yeah, I really do appreciate all your love and support, guys. But for now, if you guys aren't following me on Instagram, get over there as well, because again, while I'm moving, it's easier for me to post a little bit on Instagram. However, my heart belongs to YouTube, so I'm not going to drop YouTube. But just trying to keep up to date with things. Get over there, show me some love. I'm close to 20,000 subscribers, which is blows my mind. And anyway, love and respect you all, guys. Take care. Have an amazing week, and I'll see you guys in the next one.